Hello, and welcome back to Cartoon Deep Dive. Today, we're going all the way back to 1969 to a show that's been unmasking the villains for over 50 years. I'm talking, of course, about Scooby-Doo. But instead of asking who the villain is, we're asking why they became one. Because when you look closely at the original series, and even the modern ones, almost every villain has something in common. They're broke, desperate, and one step away from losing everything. So here's the question. Were Scooby-Doo's villains driven to crime because they were living through their own personal depressions, Great Depression? Let's rethink cartoons. When you strip away the masks, the costumes, and the spooky theatrics, Scooby-Doo villains aren't monsters. They're ordinary people pushed to their extremes. And a motive almost never changes: financial desperation. While I'm not saying that the show takes place during the actual Great Depression, the villains behave like people who are living through their own personal Great Depression, a collapse of finances, identity, and stability. Think about it. Every villain is someone society forgot, whether it was a caretaker, a business owner, a researcher, a retiree, or a worker who's been replaced or pushed out. Let's let's look at a few examples of this though. Not every Scooby-Doo villain has the same motive, but many of them reveal a common pattern. Something important in their lives is slipping away. The first case we're looking at is a minor 49er who is chasing a fortune. The minor 49er created the ghost story to keep people away from an old mining operation. His goal was to gain control of valuable land and profit from it. Whether it was greed, desperation, or both, he believed deception was the only path to success. The second case is actually in the very first episode of the show, going all the way back to 1969, of the Black Knight. He was protecting a criminal scheme. The Black Knight wasn't a supernatural ghost. He was using the legend to cover up an art forgery operation. His motive wasn't simply to scare people, it was to protect everything he had built, even if it meant committing more crimes to avoid being exposed. And the last case we're looking at here is Ben Ravencroft from The Witch's Ghost. He was consumed by a legacy. He is different here. Money wasn't his motivation. He had become consumed with restoring his family's legacy and proving that his ancestor had been misunderstood. His downfall wasn't financial. It was obsession. His identity became tied to rewriting history, and that obsession ultimately destroyed him. These cases show that Scooby-Doo villains aren't all motivated by the same thing. Some are driven by money, some by fear, some by pride, and some by obsession. But they all reach the same conclusion. Instead of facing their problems honestly, they hide behind a mask. And that's the real pattern. These aren't supernatural villains. They're people drowning in collapse. People who feel like the world moved on without them. These masks aren't just disguises, they're metaphors. Every villain puts on a monster mask because they feel like the world has turned them into one. They're not trying to scare people for fun. They're trying to survive a system that left them behind. And here's the twist. Mystery Inc. isn't fighting evil. They're exposing the truth. They're pulling the mask off economic anxiety. They're revealing the human being underneath. And every time a villain says, I would have gotten away with it too, what they really mean is, I don't know what else to do. Scooby-Doo isn't a show about monsters. It's a show about people pushed to their breaking point. It's about how fear, poverty, and desperation can turn ordinary people into something unrecognizable. And maybe that's why the show has lasted from 1969 all the way to today, granted with a couple of hiatuses, because the real monsters aren't ghosts. They're the pressures we all have to face. Until next time, I'm John Ray Rice, and I want you to rethink cartoons here on Cartoon Deep Dive.